Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee and Conversation version of Over It with myself, Julie Roginski, Michelle Kinney. Jojo from Jers is doing the parent thing at a soccer game this morning, but she is with us in spirit. You might see her jump in on the chat because usually she can't resist still being a part of us.
You can't stay away, as the kids say.
That's right. That's right. Well, ladies, it has been an interesting week since the last time we gathered for coffee and conversation. You know, on this Saturday, pre-Charlie Kirk National Remembrance Memorial, Gilead, Commander Waterford funeral thing happening tomorrow. It's been an interesting week. It has, I have to say. And that's why today, this morning, because you guys know me, it's Saturday, it's the beginning of fall. There is a community yard sale happening down the street from me. So I was out early doing my thing, wearing my "The Road to Fascism is Paved with People That Told You to Stop Overreacting" t-shirt.
Yeah.
To everyone, proudly.
Good.
And I have to say, of course I did it on purpose. Here in Northern Virginia, which has been impacted pretty severely by Donald Trump and Doge and all of the madness happening in the federal government.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see people's reactions. And
your shirt or just the news in general?
Shirt. To my shirt. Whenever I wear this, like I usually wear something provocative when I'm out and about doing errands or whatever, because just because.
It's like when I wear my Kamala hat out to get coffee in my hometown. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm just looking around to see who gives me the evil eye and who gives me a smirk.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
I don't go anywhere that's not blue, I realized lately. So for me to wear this doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. You should come home.
I mean, it's purple here, right? It's purple where I live, and there's a governor's race going on. There's, a local race that's happening here. It's a pretty, big deal. So people are, pretty in tune. And today, I'd say half a dozen people commented on my shirt. All women.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one little booth where they had really nice restored furniture and like lovely handmade jewelry. So it caught my eye, and they had a really cute corgi. So I was like, okay, the corgi is the draw. You're going to have a little corgi, cute corgi.
It's the icebreaker.
Of course, of course. So I was there and I was looking, and one of the women said, "I love your shirt." And I said, "Thank you." I said, "Well, in the times we're living in, we need to speak truth." And she was like, "Absolutely." She goes, "I have to say that there are a couple people who had on other types of shirts and things that kept moving when they found out that this was my wife and I who are running this booth." And I said, "Well, that goes to show you, where people are." I mean, it's just crazy. I was like, first of all, fuck those people. You don't need their money. But this time is exposing people for who they are.
Well, right.
Unbelievable. And then she asked me, because I had my Seneca hat on, and she asked me, what's the Seneca Project? And I explained to her what we do. We're a women-led super PAC content messaging organization. I said, "Do you remember a political ad last year called American Girl?" She was like, "Oh my God, it was the best ad we saw of the year." I said, "That was us." She said, "Oh my God, thank you guys so much, blah, 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 blah." So, you just never, I say all this to say, not only if you have a good yard sale or a garage sale or estate sale happening, go, but you just never know the impact you have when you make a statement. Because people, like all the women who said, "I love your shirt," a couple asked, "Where did you get it?" And I said, "Well, I got it on Etsy." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, we have to get it." She said, they're like, "Thank you so much for wearing that." Like, people need to feel they're not alone. A lot of us out here, folks.
On that note, I just want to read Jessica Morgan's comment here. And Jessica is often here with us on Wednesdays and Saturdays. She said, I honestly think without this great chat and without these four ladies, I would go out of my mind. I love you all so much. And I'm glad that we get to know each other from all around the country and the world.
Jessica, we have to tell you, like, we feel the same way. I just want everybody here to know that.
Yeah, not
like we have people here from Melbourne, Australia, and from Sydney, Australia, and from, I always say, our friend Robert from Camden Town in London, in northern London, which we love, and just all over the world. I mean, we have people here from Switzerland. Like, it is crazy.
It's amazing.
The amount of people we have from all over the world.
Lots of Canadians too.
Yeah, lots of Canadians. Canada, we are so sweet, and we
I know Heidi. Heidi's like our main Canadian. I always hear.
And it's just amazing to have this great community that we've built, and we're so touched. And just wait till we actually officially kick off May Day in a month or so, where it's really going to be huge and insane. And actually, I want to make a correction to what I said. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I think I took a sleeping pill last night, and I'm clearly out of it, because I said I don't go anywhere that's not blue. I'm sitting in Pennsylvania.
I was going to say, are you in Pennsylvania?
I'm in Pennsylvania at the moment. I just always think, oh yeah, I'm always on the, New York. But no, I actually spend my weekends in Pennsylvania, in the swingiest town, in the swingiest county, in the swingiest state in the nation. And that town and that county and that state went red.
Yeah.
And there was a guy here. I don't know if I've talked about this before. It's hilarious. My son and I just get we're like, look at him. We're like, we can't believe this. There's a guy there's a main street in this little town where we live. And whenever we go to this restaurant and we sit by the window, we see this guy cycling on his bike back and forth and back and forth. And he's got a little like seat for his daughter in the back. And they were cycling back and forth and back and forth. And he is draped in a Donald Trump flag, wearing America Great Again hat, excuse me. And like, I think almost like his sunglasses are like Trump sunglasses. You could like see Trump's face. Like, it's great. Like,
with his daughter in the back, or just the seat?
With the daughter in the back, who also is wearing a Donald Trump t-shirt or some sort of Donald Trump swag all the time. And I like, he's like a walking billboard. And and by the way, we moved here about, I don't know, we didn't move here, but we spent our weekends here. We got this house about 5 years ago. And that guy's been around as long as we've been around. So this predates us. He's MAGA man.
Yeah, they're proud of it. And you know what? Yeah. So are we, as the freedom fighters here. They don't get to own it. We've said this with the flag, with patriotism, with 4th of July, with the whole No Kings movement, which is why that was so powerful. Like, they don't get to fucking own this. And I sent you guys the article this morning about how the Department of Education is now partnering with 40 or 50 conservative MAGA wacko groups to do civics education. They've created this thing called the 250 Coalition. I suggest people Google this. The 250 Coalition, which is going to basically indoctrinate our kids and students between now and next year in the lead up to the 250th anniversary of the United States with the whole PragerU, Hillsdale College, revisionist history bullshit about America. This is like, I looked at that list and I have to say, I was familiar with probably 65% of the organizations from my time in the other dark place, in the other world, when I was on the Republican side. And these groups have been gearing up for a moment like this for 50 years. 50 years. The Concerned Women for America, that was like the Phyllis Schlafly type of.
That was the Eagle, whatever it was that she had.
And Forum is on there. That's on there.
I was thinking about this after you sent that along in our chat this morning, Tara, because here's the thing, is like, and I look at the Chuck Schumers of the world and like the regular Democrat people who think that like, oh, we can talk this through and I can, please talk with me and we can work together. No. When you talk about the long game, Tara, and like the ones that these groups have been playing this long game, it is a long game of radicalization and Jesus, I can't talk this morning. Extremism. And I always urge people, and I don't care who gets pissed off about me saying this, think about it like Al-Qaeda, like that kind of extremism. If you look at it through that lens, these people are patient, they are methodical, they will wait. They will wait.
Well organized. and
well
funded.
Well-funded is the key here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The billionaire, MAGA billionaires and moneyed people on the other side that are pooling their resources together to accomplish this is astronomical. I don't know. I don't understand why there hasn't been more emphasis on the amount of money that is being pumped into this regime. This is a regime that they are building and that they've been building while Democrats are still arguing over how many water bottles are being distributed at a voter registration rally and whether they should give money to that organization because of, did they distribute enough water bottles? Well, what are you going to do with those water bottles? Are they recyclable plastic that you use? Fuck that shit. Okay. These people, not saying that's not important, but that's not the priority. Okay. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for Democratic donors who have the means to either put up or shut up, because either you want to help finance the resistance or you don't, because we and others and so many organizations that are doing the work, that are on the front lines, are scraping and begging and pleading for funding to stay on the front lines of the fight, us at the Seneca Project included. I was talking to some folks that are on that chat. I won't name the chat, but y'all know what chat I'm talking about, that has the clips and some other things that okay. I got a couple messages from some folks over there that thanked Seneca for doing the Charlie Kirk.
Really?
Yes.
I would love to know who. We can talk offline.
I'll tell you offline. One in particular who's been working on like election integrity issues and who keeps sounding the alarm on that chat and not really getting a response from a coordinated national party about it, was saying that this attack on left-wing organizations and the free speech argument, like all the stuff that Trump and MAGA are doing, is having a chilling effect. And I said, that's the point.
Yes.
You think that MAGA was scared and was cowering in the corner and hoarding their money and saying, we're not going to do anything when Democrats won, or when Democrats defeated them in the midterms? No, they reconstituted tenfold. I don't understand this reaction.
Well, let me give you some perspective here as somebody who's worked in Democratic politics.
Yes, please.
Because I am, and I'm sorry for a Saturday morning, this is going to be bad news for everybody. I went to bed last night despondent, and I woke up this morning not particularly less despondent, because either Thursday or Friday, there was a resolution on the floor of the House. The resolution was to honor Charlie Kirk.
Oh my God.
And except
the thing that I posted, that I sent you guys about this. Yeah.
Except for I think it's 56 or 57 Democrats, the entire House of Representatives, including Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democratic minority, and his entire leadership team, all voted for this. And their excuse is, well, it's to honor, political violence. No. There was another resolution on the floor that was put forward to honor all victims of political violence, including the state senator and her husband
and their
dog who were murdered in Minnesota, Melissa Hortman and her husband. And unfortunately, and people at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, people at the Tops Supermarket in Buffalo, people at the Walmart in El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Steve Scalise, who's still in Republican leadership.
Seems to have no problem with any of this.
I could go on. But no, this was just Charlie Kirk. And what I can, and I know them, I know, because I worked with these guys for so long. They were having these Talmudic debates about how, well, we don't vote for this, they're going to cast us as being anti
like
political violence.
They're going to paint us as being uncallous, and this is just a trap. They're setting for us. We can't walk into the trap. Bullshit.
These people won't put up the plaque for the January 6th people. They
need it.
Yes. How about that? How about a fucking sorry dad resolution, including the people who died on January 6th? And every time I hear some Trumper say, well, nobody died on January 6th except one of ours. Guess who died? Officer Sicknick died of a stroke because of what happened.
Yep.
A bunch of others committed suicide because they were
days after.
in
Yes.
the days and weeks and months after because of January 6th.
And many of them lost their careers because they were injured so badly, like Officer Gunnell, Sergeant Gunnell, and and Officer Fanone, who was basically died and was revived because he was tased to death, and they said grab his gun and kill him with his own gun.
And these people have the audacity.
Audacity to say that it's Democrat.
Well, they've been swatting Michael Fanone's mother. Someone drove past her house and threw literal shit at her.
Yes, his 70-something-year-old mother raking leaves on her lawn. Some MAGA fucker threw shit at her. I mean, this is and they want to tell us to tone it down. We're the problem.
Yeah, get out of here.
So, wait a second.
Afraid to stand up to it. It's bullshit.
So to answer your question, Tara, which is just so incredibly just gross, is that these are a bunch of people who were made for the 1990s.
Yep.
They are not made for the moment we live today. And lest you think it's Chuck Schumer being old and having come up in the 80s and 90s, and that's how he is, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But his fellow New Yorker from Brooklyn, fellow Brooklynite, Hakeem Jeffries, is like my age. He might even be, I don't even know. I think he's in his 40s.
He's in his early 50s, I think.
Yeah.
So, he's not,
what, it's just, you, a black man
from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. A black man. You are voting to honor somebody who thinks that you have a job, not because you're smart, but because of affirmative action.
Correct.
You are telling the women and the Latinos in your caucus that everything Charlie Kirk said about them, that the reason that they have their jobs is because of affirmative action. You are telling the black women in your caucus to vote for Charlie Kirk and support him, despite the fact that he says that they're not smart enough because they're black to actually.
They're moronic brains that don't have the brain power.
To do the same as, Marjorie Taylor Greene because she happens to be white.
Or Charlie Kirk himself, who's a college dropout.
Yes. And the man who dismissed political violence against all the places that I mentioned, Tree of Life, Tops, the horrible shooting down in Charleston where a white man walked into a black church and massacred black parishioners as they were praying on a Sunday. The Walmart shooting for Latinos, all of those, this is indisputable, were because the shooters, individual shooters, all different men, all white men, all individual men in that case, supported a theory called the Great Replacement Conspiracy Theory, which Charlie Kirk promulgated day in, day out.
And let me just
day out until the day he died, because the last time that I could find him doing it was a few weeks before his death in August.
Yep. And I just want to say also, in the weeks that led up to the shooting in Buffalo, Elise Stefanik was running digital ads on Facebook peddling the Great Replacement theory as well. I know that because I made an ad about it and had to research the ads and, make sure that all of that information is correct. And that is exactly what she did. And she never answers for it. And she just goes along with it and says, and this bitch is going to run for governor next year and she could absolutely win.
Yep.
And so, I want, if anybody here lives near New York, lives in New York, knows anyone who lives in New York, let me just tell you right now, New York will no longer and probably ever again be a safe haven for anybody.
Yep.
If Elise Stefanik wins the governor's race next year, ever.
And let me just do a little note. I smoke, and I know things you said you're new around here, or newer than some, I guess. So you don't know why we always apologize to my dad. So quickly, for people who may not have been with us from the start, my dad, after our very first show, called me up and said, "You girls are a bunch of potty mouths, and I can't believe how much you curse, and this is very unattractive and very unbecoming and just not done. And I cannot believe my daughter, and I cannot believe my daughter's friends, and this is just not right, and this is not how it's done." So now every time we curse, which sorry, Dad, we're going to continue to do.
Yes,
we apologize to my dad, so he at least understands that we are those kind of potty mouth. I am the potty mouth daughter that he raised, but at least I'm sorry that he has to listen to it. That's why
yes,
it's got to become a thing.
It has become a thing.
Yeah.
It's true.
So anyway, to the point where people in the chat also curse and apologize to my dad, which I love and is hilarious. So thank you.
I'm telling you, we're working on merch for it.
We're gonna get some merch.
We're gonna have merch with my dad's face on it and saying sorry to his dad on it.
Yes.
Which he may or may not know about, because that probably would also.
I ain't gonna know now.
Very very unbecoming.
I do want to just bring it back to that 250 thing, because 250th anniversary of our U.S. Constitution and the birth of our nation is next year, and there are lots of plans for what they're going to do. And this clip from yesterday on Fox News came across my feed this morning, and I have to play it for y'all, because if you haven't seen it, you might scream like I did. So here we go.
Oh, Lord.
Hold on. Why isn't it playing?
Well, that's bad enough.
I think
why isn't it playing?
I think
Hold on.
You're maybe allergic.
That's the UFC, the plans for the UFC fight?
I mean, let me you guys continue to chat.
This is what it will turn into.
Oh my
God. Do that? Hold on.
Well, I'll let you figure that out.
UFC with the octagon in the middle. How many seats there? What is the plan?
Well, we're still playing with that. It's going to be under 5,000 people. It depends on how much the lawn can hold. As far as weight, the octagon itself weighs 15,000 pounds. So we don't know. We're still working it out. And my vision for this thing is we have this big arch, as you can see, with the lighting grid, because what I want is the White House in the back. And then when you shoot, when the fight goes around to the other side, you'll see the Washington Monument.
Yeah, we'll keep scrolling through. There's another shot from the side, and you can kind of see the grand scope of this, the next one in the slide. And there you see the fighters kind of walking in, and there's the backwards look. I mean, it's a massive operation right there.
Yeah, it really is. At first he put Ivanka in charge of handling this thing and putting it together. And when we sent the plans over to Ivanka, she said, Dana, you do not mess around.
This.
Ivanka.
Is it like a lowercase I? Like Ivanka?
Like iPhone, Ivanka. Okay, henceforth she will always be known as Ivanka. Just
forever.
At least on this show. At least on this show. Ivanka. I thought Ivanka had nothing to do with.
Well, that's right. I was like,
apparently
Ivanka her ass.
It's back in the fascist hole. Yeah.
Also because it's money. This is a private sector thing. Just like, I don't know, speaking of Ivanka, did you see Beyonce and Jay-Z having dinner with her and Jared?
I was just going to say that.
You all know how I feel about Beyonce anyway, so I'm like, whatever, but I'm not a fan.
I don't know how you feel about Beyonce. How do you feel about Beyonce?
I'm not a fan of hers. I never have been. It goes back to the way she handled the breakup of Destiny's Child and the way they treated the original members. It was very screwed up, and she kind of stepped on them to get to become who she became, and like turning Destiny's Child into a different organization and a different group, and like screwed over the original girls who had been with her since they were like 10 years old, and they wrote the original songs and produced them, and they woke up one day to being replaced because the father didn't like them, didn't think they fit the image, and they were shooting the Bills, I think it was the Say My Name video, with another set of girls, and they got a phone call from the set saying, there's some other people here shooting the video. They didn't even know. And while Beyonce was like driving around in a Mercedes and buying new homes, the original members were still driving like their Toyota Corollas and like getting a pittance. And it wasn't right.
Kelly Rowland and that whole crew?
I'm sorry?
Kelly Rowland, all of those girls?
Well, no, her and Kelly Rowland were fine. It was the other two. Latoya and the other one, I forget their names now.
Dream girls.
Unfortunately, there were 4 originally, and then like it was a whole thing, and there was no sense of like making it right until many years later, and it just wasn't okay. Now she can blame it on her father and all that and whatever, but that always left a bad taste in my mouth that I just felt like it could have been handled better. And then her original music, I don't take anything away from her for her talent. She's talented. She's worked her ass off, and she deserves all of the accolades. I just don't particularly care for her and her brand and how she made the switch and the whole, like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of hers. I'm team Rihanna, and I always have been. I like Rihanna better. I just have. That's just me.
You want to hear Jay-Z's story while we're at it?
Sure.
So I lived in the same building as Jay-Z in Fort Lee.
Oh.
So before they got married, Jay-Z lived in Fort Lee, New Jersey, which is strange, you might think, because why would he live in Fort Lee? A lot of the R&B people lived in northern New Jersey. Yeah, he's not from Jersey. He's from
Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's from Brooklyn. But a lot, like Little Kim and all these other people lived.
Oh yeah, they lived down the street from me in Bergen County.
Yeah, because they wanted. I just think they just didn't want to deal with all the craziness in the city. So
it's also easier to get to Teterboro.
True.
Which is the private airport that everybody flies into in New Jersey, right over the bridge.
Right. So I did not know who Jay-Z was when I got. This is the first apartment I ever bought. I got it. In 2003. And Fort Lee is very Korean.
Yes.
And my building was mostly Korean diplomats. I don't know why. They just happened to choose my building to be the building where the South Korean people from the consulate all bought apartments or lived or rented.
Palisades Park too, right there.
Yes, Palisades Park is but my building was very Korean. And there was constantly a Maybach parked idling in front of the door.
Yep.
And I was like, why is there this crazy Maybach constantly parked in front of the door with a
driver? Car? Is that like a car?
Yeah, it's a Mercedes. It's like the Rolls Royce of Mercedes.
Okay. No, I don't know cars. So
yeah, I didn't either until somebody pointed this out to me. Like it's got like curtains in the back. It basically looks like Rolls Royce, but it's a Mercedes.
Right.
And it was constantly idling, like 24/7. There would be a driver sitting there, and I was like, what is going on? Like, who lives in this building? And ultimately, my friend Ben was over, and he is watching this guy walk, and he's like, ah, and I was like, who is that? He's like, that's Jay-Z. I was like, who's that? I mean, literally, this is over 20 years ago. I had no clue. I am, as everybody here knows, a classic rock girl. If it's not Robert Plant or Pete Townsend, I don't know you. And so I was like, oh, okay. This guy literally had a driver sitting 24/7 at his beck and call. I was like, what is he, like, expecting somebody to shoot him and he'd get in the car really quickly?
Wow,
he would not let anybody get in the elevator with him. They would literally block you from getting into the elevator. He bought the penthouse and the apartment right below it, and he converted them into like a duplex. Incredible views of the city, I assume, because I know which way it would have faced. But he wouldn't let anybody get in the elevator. The doorman would not let you get in the elevator with him. I'm like, God damn it. I pay, like, I own this apartment.
Yeah, like, I live here too. Like, I'm sorry.
I pay my maintenance. I pay my homeowner association fees, dues to this building just the same as he does. Like, what the hell? Like, he was, and I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, okay, it's me and a bunch of Korean diplomats who I guarantee you also don't know who you are. Like, nobody here knows who you are. Back then, I don't think so. These were like older than me. These were, if I was in my early 30s, they must have been like in their 50s or 60s. And I was like, come on. And could not have been less of a friendly guy, could not have been more of a
well, they're not. Right. That's right. As a power couple, you know, like it's not my thing. I didn't like there was just some of the political statements she made back in the day I wasn't okay with. There was just a lot of things about her that I don't like. I didn't like some of the more sexually explicit kind of stuff that she started getting into later on when she changed her sound, like her later albums, the more recent ones. I just don't like her music anymore. And so I'm not a huge fan. And so anyway, and then it's like, okay, you guys are a power Black couple, billionaires, okay? Billionaires. And instead of taking some of your money and putting it toward causes in the United States to fight back against what's happening, particularly in the Black community, and helping, the Black community in particular, you're vacating your $200 million home in Malibu and going and moving to England.
Is that what they're doing?
Yes, they're building. They have a home in the Cotswolds or somewhere down the street from like Ellen DeGeneres or something. That they're
Ellen moved too, and
listen.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like
I don't mind.
I don't begrudge like Rosie for going because she was a target.
Rosie was in legit danger.
I
She
get
should
it.
have gone.
But Rosie O'Donnell isn't Jay-Z and Beyonce money. They legit are billionaires and could make a difference with what, you know, helping to at least finance the resistance. But, you know, they're going to go and have dinner with Ivanka and Jared.
That's the part that's really bullshit, Tara, because like I can understand if you're moving to I don't blame anybody for leaving this country right now, by the way. If I could, I would too. Like, I don't blame you. We are in Berlin 1933, and I don't think people want to stick around to see what Berlin 1936 looks like before we get to 1939, which I guarantee you is coming. The war is coming. But what I begrudge is at the same time that you're fleeing the country because you can't live here as a Black couple anymore, which I understand, you're hanging out with Jared and Ivanka.
Well, no, it's unforgivable. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
No, I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay. I mean, I have been a fan of Beyonce's for many years. I mean, like, she is a year older than me. So I feel like I grew up in high school, like listening to Destiny's Child. Like, she's been the soundtrack of my formative years.
Yeah.
But I will say that, you know, first of all, when Jay-Z got with her, she was like way, way, way younger than him. And I always thought that was like, well, because she was like a teenager, and I was like, "What?" I always thought that was strange, and I didn't like that.
2000, she was like maybe 19 or 20 or something.
Right?
No,
and then,
no, I think she was like 16.
No, not in 2000. She was 16, 17 when Destiny's Child got big.
In 2000, I was 18.
Were introduced.
So she was, but there's there's stories about them having gotten together earlier, and they didn't really come public until after she was 18. Yeah. Anyways, so. There is like, and I know I talk about this probably too much because it bothers me, but there is a thing about rich people. When rich people get to a certain level of rich and influence and power, that first of all, they are no longer on planet Earth. They think the world revolves around them, and they will do anything to protect themselves and the other people that are just like them. Yes. And then politics becomes not a point of view or a you know, a moral compass for themselves. It becomes more of just like, oh, well, you know, whatever keeps my status in the world is what I will support. And so when I saw those photos of them sitting with them at a table, well, and some people were like, well, they were just at a charity dinner. I'm like, horseshit. These people have entire PR teams.
Correct.
That make sure that they are standing in the correct light, let alone sitting at a table with the child of a dictator.
Yes.
So, like, spare me.
Listen, anybody who watched Devil Wears Prada knows that the seating chart is everything. It's a very political document.
You're not going to put Beyonce Knowles and Jay-Z at the same table with Jared and Ivanka and not know exactly what's going on. People I'm like, don't be naive. Everything that these people do is planned out to a T. I mean, to Julie's point, Jay-Z had a car sitting outside his house in New Jersey, his apartment building in New Jersey, 24/7. That's just one little piece of his big giant life. And these people are paid thousands of dollars to just stand around them and brush their hair. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So like anybody making excuses, listen, I have cut people out of my life for less.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and I can co-sign that because I witnessed it firsthand.
Yeah. And it was very upsetting. Yes. But like people, they just don't see that. Well, you know, it's rude to talk about politics and, you know, but it doesn't matter because, you know, we all come together at the end of the day and we're all still friends. And this person worked for Hillary, but that person gave $1 million to Donald Trump and it's okay because we're all friends. And I'm like, you know what? Bullshit.
Yeah, we all went to college together and they were in the same fraternity. And
I'm like, give back to the country that made you rich. God damn it.
Can I just say something about that, Michelle? Because you just said something that just nails on it. Not what you said, but just this notion of we could all come together at the end. The other side doesn't think that way.
No.
And this is the kumbaya bullshit that led Democrats
and they prey on us
Kirk delusion.
Yes.
Right? Oh no, we've got to unite together at the end. We're all human. It's all humanity. And this poor man died. Yes, he died. And I'm so sorry for him and his family and his friends and his movement and all the people who supported him that he died. I am sorry as a human being that he died. However, honoring a racist, bigot, homophobe, misogynist is not in the cards for me. And it
Nope.
is not in the cards for the people who represent me. And I swear to God, if Jerry Nadler, my congressman, voted for that resolution, I want to know about it, although he's not running again. And if he did, I'm glad he's not running again. But I am not supporting anybody who forces anybody to respect the legacy of Charlie Kirk.
Exactly.
The legacy of Charlie Kirk is one of hate that has led directly to many people dying in places like synagogues, like churches, like Walmart parking lots.
Like Mississippi, where 2 young Black men were found lynched from trees, which, by the way, Colin Kaepernick, if people don't know, is independently funding their autopsies so that he can get to the bottom of it, because
Good for him.
they feel like that, that they can't count on the county, coroner and investigators to do the job because it's Mississippi.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that man of God, that incredible Christian, the Speaker of the House, ever say to the Republican conference, oh, we've got to do something to bring everybody together. We've got to unite the country. We've got to do that. Have you ever seen Donald Trump do that? Have you ever seen J.D. Vance do that? Have you ever seen John Thune do that? Never.
Nope.
You never see it on Fox News. Believe me, I spent 10 years there, thousands and thousands of hours on television, and I can tell you, never did I hear them say we have to bring the country together, ever. You never hear that from Charlie. You never heard that from Charlie Kirk. You don't hear that from Ben Shapiro. You don't hear that from Betty Johnson. You don't hear that from any of them. And yet, idiots, these Democrats are saying, "Oh, we gotta stop the hate. We gotta bring the country together." Fuck you.
Exactly.
Sorry, Dad, but no, actually, I'm not sorry, because fuck you.
Yep, pretty much. Which is what we said when we put out the Charlie Kirk video.
Right.
Because, fuck you guys. You're not gonna sit here and browbeat me and tell me that I'm supposed to honor this guy when he has said these awful things. I said this the other day on Over It. There was this pastor from Alfred Street Baptist Church, which is a big, famous Baptist church in Alexandria, Virginia, who preached a sermon who said, how you die does not absolve you from how you lived.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I'm like, that is exactly right.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sorry. There are plenty of fascists who got murdered. What are we supposed to absolve them for their fascism?
Right. That's why I don't understand. The fight, the lack of sense of urgency and fight and galvanization around this and what's happening with free speech, what happened with Jimmy
reality.
Right. I'm like, what are the Democrats doing here? This was a perfect opportunity for them to expose what the right is doing, trying to whitewash and sanitize and lionize Charlie Kirk. This was the opportunity for them to stand up and go, no. Absolutely, we condemn what happened to him. However, we are not going to celebrate what he stood for.
Yeah.
And this is what he stood for.
Yep.
And freaking point it out. That's why we just did it. You don't even have to make it up. You don't even put any editorializing. Read his own words. Play his own words. Because I guarantee you the stuff that he was saying, you couldn't play that on the House floor. Or and people would be like, oh my gosh. Well, you could, but they would feel as oh, that's against decorum. Are you okay with that? Every single member of Congress who has supported Charlie Kirk's memorializing the half-staff flag bullshit, all of this stuff. They want to put statues. Didn't Michelle, you say that there was something in Oklahoma where they wanted to put statues in
the public universities.
And public university squares. Okay, then I want everyone to hold up their phones with the video evidence, not print, video evidence of Charlie Kirk in his own words and say, Mr. Congressman, do you agree with this? Do you agree with this? Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? Yes, no.
This is why. Right. And this is why when I was putting that video together, I was kind of like, I don't know how to start this. I don't know how to end it. But then in our group chat, I think it was maybe the first night, I can't remember, Julie, you were like, Scott Jennings just said, said he,
he's mainstream.
He's mainstream. And then so I'm like, okay, I'm going to start it with that. And I'm trying to figure out how to end it. And I think one of you then again was like, he just said on Abby Phillips the same thing again. I go, oh, great. That's how I'll end it. Because Scott Jennings is going to be the mouthpiece for the Republican Party on CNN all day, every single day. make him own it.
Yep.
And you know, some of the comments and some of the trolls, like on our Instagram, which by the way has almost 1 million views on this video, which is very kind of overwhelming because the algorithm does not push videos that are over 3 minutes long. And this is almost 7 minutes long. I'm like, the fact that a 7-minute video on Instagram is getting this viral is kind of crazy.
And Twitter. Twitter. I when I posted it on Twitter, it's up to,
your tweet
over
has
1 million now.
It's 1 million views.
I couldn't believe it.
And so, you know, so I saw a couple people, and then I went deep into these people's profiles and saw who they are. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. And they're like, this was all taken out of context, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hi. So I'm like, the thing about context, honey, is that like when something is taken out of context, that means it changes the meaning of what the statement was. If you add a context back in, yes, it then changes the meaning again. But if you add more of the language that was stated around it back in, and it still means the same thing or reinforces the original point of view, then things are not taken out of context. And I'm sorry that you seeing all this in one place makes you feel bad about yourself because this guy gets you all riled up inside.
Yep.
That may be a point in which you need to look at yourself and say, you know, is this, but the thing is, a lot of people are okay with this. They like the point about Charlie Kirk, and that's the point.
That's it. My mom and I had this conversation. Unfortunately, I have a family member who is very much entrenched on that side. Christian, you know.
Yeah, listen, most of my family.
And is like constantly sending us things justifying Trump and MAGA and all that. She's part of that whole Christian dominionist bullshit, right?
Oh boy.
And like when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, she kept sending stuff to my mom about what a man of God he is and blah, blah, blah. My mom just sent her our video. And what did she say? Oh, it's all out of context. And
this
my
is
mom
what they do.
Right. And I just said, Mom, stop. Like, why? I mean, just like, you're never getting through.
What out of context? Has anybody here ever said anything?
Well, right. Yeah.
Never
I wonder if they're qualified.
Yeah.
Never in my life have I said anything that would denote that I think that Black women don't have the brain power to do the job that they do, right?
George Floyd was a scumbag.
Take that out. Listen, even if he did, let's take that stuff out, right? People might think George Floyd was a scumbag for what, you know, if you think black crime or whatever, he didn't deserve to die, and he didn't, you know, what, it was bigger than that. Take that out. We'll take the racial part out. Charlie Kirk advocated for the public execution of people in the public square that should be televised, and agreed with one of the people on his panel who said that it should be people 12 years old should be exposed to public executions, and that he would enjoy watching it. He also advocated for the
great replacement theory. That's all you need to know.
Well, that too, but he advocated for the killing
execution of Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, of the president of the United States. He also said that told white people to go out and buy more fucking guns. Well, if you are a native-born American, buy weapons.
Wait a second. So to your point, sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
No, I just want to give the context of the Joe Biden quote. If anybody wants to know the context of that, the whole thing that he was talking about is how Kamala Harris, and he kept calling her Kamala Harris, was an idiot. And saying that she was like this cackling idiot, and everyone thought that she was like mentally ill and crazy. But my goodness, she'll be a lot easier to beat than Joe Biden. So wouldn't it be great if she was the nominee? And Joe Biden, by the way, and then he goes on to this whole thing about how he's Alzheimer's bumbling and he should be executed and corrupt and be executed. And then he goes back to insulting Kamala Harris. That is the context of that line.
I mean,
which almost makes it worse. So anyways, Joe, go ahead.
He also said that he thinks that abortion is worse than the Holocaust. Worse than the Holocaust. Okay, like
it's worse.
It's worse. It's worse.
So, you guys, I'm sorry. While we were talking, I actually pulled up the list of Democrats who voted against the resolution honoring.
Against or for?
Against. It's too. The ones voting for is too long to read.
Jesus.
Against 58. Of course,
every single Black woman.
No, not every single Black woman.
No,
but the vast majority were against. The vast majority are people of color. There were many who were not voting, a tremendous amount, including Nancy Pelosi. I don't know what she was doing.
Did they just not vote, or they voted present?
No, they didn't vote, period.
Okay.
Okay, which also no excuse.
No,
there were many, many, many who were there and voted present. Many voted present. Now, I ask you, my friends, what kind of gutless person do you have to be to vote present on a non-binding resolution? How much cowardice do you have in your heart, my Dem friends, to vote present on a non-binding resolution?
That's unbelievable.
And the rest of them, including Michelle, you're my congressman, who's no longer running, because I can guarantee you I would have primaried.
I have words. I have words. Yeah.
Say them.
Well, for anybody who doesn't know this, I got my start in politics on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. After I was in Manhattan Young Democrats and I was in New York Young Dems, I switched over to the adults and ended up being the vice president of Jerry Nadler's club that he founded 50 years ago, called Community Free Democrats. And I remember when the midterms were happening, I believe, what was it? It was 2018, right? It was when we kind of swept and took back the majority. And I remember everybody, all the boomers who were lovely people, but they all came up with Jerry because Jerry was the anti-establishment candidate for assembly. And back in the day, in like 1968, 1969, there was all these Democrats that were representing the Upper West Side locally that were all the old timers. And then these young boomers came in the late 60s and said, enough already. And they wanted to shake things up. And that's how Jerry Nadler got his career started in New York politics, is they all primaried everybody from the left. And they were reform candidates. And then they shook everything up until decades later, Jerry Nadler became the exact person that he pushed out decades before. And I remember all these people who had come up with him, they were all so excited. Jerry's going to be the head of the judiciary. Jerry's going to be the head of judiciary when they're going to impeach Donald Trump for all the things that he's done. And let me just tell you, everybody was rah, 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 rah about him. What a disappointment. What a disappointment. Over and over and over again. And listen, Jerry is a nice guy, okay? He's a nice person, but I don't want a nice person representing me. I want somebody who's going to go and get the justice that the American people deserve, especially the people who elect them. And Jerry Nadler, when I saw that he was retiring, I was like, thank God. It's like, thank you for your service, but like, this should have happened a while ago.
And this is why.
Yeah.
Because Bill Courage, by the way, as much as Ro Khanna has been running around trying to establish himself as something or other, and good job on the Epstein stuff, I guess, he voted present. Which of course he did. Well,
he's the guy that said he wanted to work with. He was one of the first to say he'd work with fucking Elon with Doge.
Yep.
Because he's a crypto tech bro guy out there in Silicon Valley. When we put out our Do Not Obey in Advance ad early in the
it was like, add those Dems in, add them in.
We added him in right away, saying that, I'll work with him, blah, blah, blah. And then it was the women who were like, F that. We need to stand strong. Like we made that point early on. So Ro Khanna, I kind of side eye him. Thank you for the Epstein stuff, but it's all very calculated.
It's all very performative. By the way, somebody here also Jared Moskowitz voted. He voted yes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Moskowitz did?
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. Because I'll tell you what happened. They had a fucking lunch. They had their caucus lunch, right? Their weekly lunch. And at that weekly lunch, I guarantee you that Hakeem Jeffries stood up, and I can literally call a member of Congress as soon as we're off the show and confirm this for me, because I can picture this is how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lunch and came, whoa, we don't want to fall into the trap. We don't want them to think they're going to go out there. How about you fucking learn how to communicate and they don't have to worry about what they're going to say about you?
Exactly.
And somebody in the chat said this, and this is why I wear my glasses during these shows, because I want to read the chat. Otherwise, I would look much better without them. Somebody here said, we need motherfuckers. Yes, we do. Yes. We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do. And the motherfuckers should be
You don't need nice guys, you need motherfuckers. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I really need to put that on a t-shirt.
Exactly. That's why I always bust chops about Hakeem Jeffries needs to be more Brooklyn and less Shakespeare in the Park, because my husband's from Brooklyn. Okay, you have a certain swag when you're from Brooklyn. Captain America was from Brooklyn. Okay, so you know what I'm saying?
So was Spider-Man. All of them are from
He's
Brooklyn.
from Queens.
From Queens. Yeah,
There's a great scene. There's a great scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, and it's killing me what's happening with Disney, but that's an aside. There's a great scene in Civil War, right? In Avengers Civil War, which I think is one of the best ones out of all of them, where Captain America and Spider-Man meet for the first time, and he says like, "Oh, you got a lot of heart, kid. Where are you from?" He's like, "Queens." He's like, "Brooklyn." And there's like an understanding, like like. You know what I mean? There's like people from Jersey. Where are you from? I'm from Jersey. Like we need that attitude in politics. Why does it take Mazie Hirono from Hawaii,
Right.
woman, right? A middle-aged woman to senator to be like, you know what? You're fucking small businesses, you jerk offs. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Speaking of Jersey, Tara, the only member of Congress, and we should have her on the show, and I promise you we'll have her on the show because she's a friend and I love her. The only member of Congress from the great state of New Jersey, the place that Tara and I grew up, my hometown congresswoman, Bonnie Watson Coleman, voted no. Everybody else voted either present or yes.
What is happening?
You know why? You know why? Bonnie Watson Coleman, Black woman.
Yes.
Now, Monica, let me actually look this up. Monica McIver, LaMonica McIver.
Yeah, we just saw her.
The Trump administration is threatening is basically trying to put in prison at the moment for doing nothing more than her oversight committee. She, I believe, voted.
I hope she voted present at least.
She
didn't vote at all.
I'm sorry. It wasn't just Bonnie Watson Coleman. Monica McIver also voted no.
Good.
So the two Black women.
Two Black women.
Can I show the clip of the Alfred Street Baptist Church pastor?
Yes, please.
Because I've got it here.
Sorry. Rob Menendez from New Jersey also voted no. I'm not from New Jersey. Latino member of Congress also voted no.
Well, he was there with her when all that shit went down. He was the one that was like pushing ICE agents away from her that same day when she got arrested. He didn't.
All right, I'm going to play this.
And I do not celebrate the killing of anyone. Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated. But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land. And hearing people with selective rage who are mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home, tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. And I do not.
I mean,
yes.
And I just want to say too, I often say this between the music and the sermons. Had I grown up in a Black Baptist church, I think I believe in God. Seriously, I believe, and I understand why people who grow up in that are believers, because if I had that, I would be believing too.
Yeah, and you'd be singing solos in church choir on Sunday.
Yeah,
Michelle, with that voice. Oh yeah. You'd be a strong alto.
Meanwhile, speaking of church, the Cardinal of His Eminence, the Cardinal of New York, Dolan, went on Fox and Friends, which really, Your Eminence, really? You're okay. That's an interesting choice of venue to compare Charlie Kirk to St. Paul.
Shut up. No, he didn't.
Yes,
Come
he did.
on.
Oh,
He
yes.
did.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes, he did. In fact, if I may, I
can't.
will read you the actual quote.
No, I if you can send me the thing, I'll play it. if
Oh,
you
even
can find
better.
it.
This is, you know what this is, guys? This is the modern day lost cause happening right in front of us. This is
Yep.
exactly what the Confederacy did when they lost the war and then years later decided to rewrite history and whitewash what happened in the Civil War with the Confederacy and lionizing these Confederate fucking traitors that, you know, that wanted to secede from the United States and keep black people enslaved. And now, but they're heroes. There's streets named after them. There were statues put up for them. There's universities and all of that. This is exactly what they're trying to do. They're doing a modern day lost cause for Charlie Kirk, and we're not gonna fucking let that shit slide without pushback. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So let me just play this here. I got it.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, of course, there's a goddamn ad.
Speaking of,
Well, we'll talk over this ad.
There you go.
Let's
You
skip
can
ad.
skip it now. There you go.
We are reflecting on the legacy of Charlie Kirk, his desire to lead with faith and spread the word of God.
So our next guest is calling on America to
All
come
right, I'm
together.
fast-forwarding
Doesn't
here.
happen too much. So when I heard the tragic news, I said, oh, I wonder who he was. And then all of a sudden, this overwhelming sense of sorrow and kind of renewal. And I thought, I got to learn about this guy. And the more I learned about him, I thought, this guy's a modern day St. Paul. He was a missionary. He's an evangelist. He's a hero.
Oh my God.
He's one, I think, that knew what Jesus meant when he said the truth will set you free.
Oh
And
my
to
God.
do it, no, I understand. He was pretty blunt and he was pretty direct.
Blunt?
He didn't try to avoid any controversy. He didn't even try to avoid confrontation. The difference is the way, the mode, the style that he did it, always with respect. And not only was that a gracious, kind of virtuous thing to do, it's effective. Because when your opponents see, this guy kind of respects me. We kind of disagree here, but he kind of enjoys me. And he's thanking me for being here. And he's telling me he appreciates the trust I have in him in sharing my views. I thought, this guy can teach us something. I've been spending the last week reading about him. And so last night I was at
we're not going to watch that.
No more of that. No more.
Listen,
How much money? I want to know how much money was somebody gave to the his parish there in New York. I wonder.
I go to church with my husband. I'm not Catholic, but my husband is, and I go to church with him quite a bit in New York City. And I look around, and Michelle's been to my house. You know, there's also a big Catholic church, literally right next door to where I live. But the church that I go to with my husband, interestingly, a big church for gay people. A lot of gay people go to that particular church. Lots of Latinos.
It's Catholic, not Episcopalian.
Oh, it's Catholic. My God, my husband, altar boy, 12 years of Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
You've heard you call him
the Catholic Church wasn't very welcoming to gays for a long time.
New York City.
Yeah.
This particular church is my gay friend Bill, who is very Catholic, calls it this particular church, which he also goes to. He calls it Our Lady of Hey Girl Hey. But it's a great church, actually. And I'm not religious at all, but I actually always get something out of it whenever I go with my husband. The point is, when I look around that parish and I look around the people in the pews next to me, Charlie Kirk has insulted probably 75% of them.
Of course he has.
And that, Your Eminence, is your flock.
Right. Where are the protests?
What are you talking about? Do you think this church is just for people that look like Tim Dolan? No.
I'm floored that he would be that stupid to isolate so many people, particularly in New York City, by making that comparison, first of all, which is
this is where the Catholic Church is not doing they're not getting any new, like no new people are joining the Catholic Church for this reason. And this is why they are shedding membership.
One of many.
Right.
One of many reasons.
Well, and you want to talk about context, okay? In the video where Charlie Kirk, I used the video where he said, I'd like to see that execution. It would make my day better. Yeah. He said that he thinks we should bring back the guillotine.
Right.
and that there was that they should chop the head off of a pedophile. Now he's like, I want this guy taken out in the street on the block, and I want to see that guy's head chopped off. This is what he says. So let's talk about the pedophilia problem in the Catholic Church, shall we? In all the New York parishes, in Boston, in Catholic parishes across the country. So, like, again, somebody in the chat asks, Charlie Kirk wasn't Catholic, was he? No, he wasn't.
No, he was a Christian nationalist.
No. So wait a second. What does this tell you about Cardinal Dolan, right? Cardinal Dolan said he'd never heard of Charlie Kirk until this all happened, and that he started reading up on him. Which websites does Cardinal Dolan visit?
Right.
Continuously.
Right.
He thinks that Charlie Kirk is a modern day hero.
Exactly.
And like St. Paul.
And compares him to a saint.
Not just a saint, compares him to the man who had the biggest influence on the Catholic Church, aside from Jesus Christ himself. Many people argue actually more than Jesus, because he's the one that actually established the church after Jesus died. So,
and Paul was also the one who challenged the churches for hypocrisy and for being lukewarm in a time when you can't be a lukewarm Christian. And he called out the Corinthians and the Thessalonians and all of them for, like, what are y'all doing here?
But yeah, so my question is, where does Cardinal Dolan spend his time reading up on the news? And how did Cardinal Dolan end up on Fox and Friends? Like, did they call him, or did he call them?
Does somebody have Cardinal Dolan's email? We'll send them our video. If anybody knows Cardinal Dolan here in our chat, send them our video and then ask him, do you still think that Charlie Kirk is some saint savior who's just a wonderful young Christian man?
You know what? I could get you
values that align with yours.
I could get you Cardinal Dolan's contact info.
Oh, give it to us. We'll send it to him. I'll send it to him.
I will. You're Catholic, right, Tara? You grew up Catholic.
No, non-denominational.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'll have my Catholic husband send it to him, because this
let it come from a Catholic. Because
you know what's sad about this? I look at people like my husband, right? A white man. Michelle spent some time drinking scotch with him. She knows him. Like, you're talking about a young man who grew up in the 1960s. Really, as an altar boy, like every other little boy, probably, at one point wanted to be a priest before he discovered girls, because that's what you kind of, that was like the all-powerful person in your life. His mother had 6 boys and probably would have kept going if she could have.
Where did he grow up?
In Plainfield, New Jersey.
Okay, he's a Jersey guy. I thought so.
Yeah. So very, very, and very Catholic. As I said, altar boy, like start to finish, 12 years of Catholic school. And so much so that despite his being, he's as liberal as I am, but despite all of that, still goes to church.
Mm-hmm.
I have not spoken to him. I don't know if he even knows what Cardinal Dolan said, and he's not big on Cardinal Dolan, but you take somebody like that, who is exactly the kind of guy, always puts money in the offering, whatever, when they pass out, the collection plate, always puts a lot of money into the collection plate. Again, like out of Catholic guilt, probably.
The Catholic Church is very good at that.
Yeah. What are you doing for somebody like that? Never mind somebody who's a Latino. Never mind somebody who's a woman. Never mind somebody. I mean, who are you appealing to when a white man like my husband would look at you and if he watched that, he would say he was done with Cardinal Dolan. I don't know that
please report back how your husband reacted after you showed that to him. I'd like to know.
Can I read something here?
I see some people in the chat talking about, like, this is why I left Christianity. And let me tell you, I grew up not as a young kid, but like teenager years on in non-denominational evangelical church in New Jersey. And so I come from the evangelical world. I'm familiar with a lot of this. And in 2016, and I've said this before, but for people who are new, in 2016, when Trump emerged on the scene, it was the person who was over my pastor, his senior pastor, him and his wife, who they'd known me since I was 16 years old, who absolutely adored me, who were the ones who said that they wished that their son could meet a woman like me to marry, Okay. They were very, in the prophetic kind of space of things. And when I was 16 years old, told me that I had a gift of communication and that I would be the voice of millions and influence millions in a time of challenge when I was 16. So this was 1992. Okay. They told me that was God's purpose for my life. Spoke that word into my life. They've known me for years. In 2016, when I started speaking out against Donald Trump, the most vitriolic, awful insults came from that pastor's wife, and who told me that I was out of my calling with God for speaking out against Donald Trump. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And I started quoting scriptures back to her. I started quoting things that her prophetic husband said about me and about other things that did not align with Donald Trump, and said, how do you reconcile this? But I'm the apostate. I'm the one that's out of step with the will of God. You need to look in the mirror. I have not stepped foot back in that church since then, and I never will. I never will. The evangelical movement should be ashamed of themselves. They are part of the problem. This is why we're where we are now. They have chosen political power over the words of Jesus, and not for nothing, but what Jesus preached was exactly against what's happening right now. It was about, when he was turning the gambling over in the temples. This is worse.
Let me
The
tell you something.
hypocrisy, the idol worship, explain to me what Donald Trump does. And he's not a Cyrus, by the way. Cyrus repented. Donald Trump did not. Tell me how any of this is in line with the words of Jesus. Bullshit. And so I am done with the evangelical church. I will never step foot in them again, in any of those churches again. That doesn't affect my relationship with God. I have a personal relationship with God. I don't need a preacher or church or any of that to do that. Just a little background on why this particularly bothers me when it comes to the hypocrisy of religion, because the devil's greatest weapon wasn't hate, it's deception. And we're living through this right now.
That's right.
Deception.
Listen, God didn't make church. God didn't make church.
No, Jesus didn't want organized religion. He spoke out against it.
Man made church. Man made the temples. Man made the all of these places. And the thing about organized religion is that it has coincided with the patriarchy for centuries.
Yes.
Because what they have done is built a world that is of worship, that worships pronouns of he when they refer to God, and never she. She was never in the eyes of like creation or anything like that. And that's the other issue that I've always had.
Mary Magdalene into a prostitute, which she wasn't. She wasn't. And you guys, I'm sorry. I think we all know, maybe some people in this chat don't know because they're new, but I was in Israel this past June. Before the war came, we went up to the Galilee. And first of all, before that, we went and prayed in what was supposed to be Jesus's tomb, did mass at Jesus's tomb. My husband and I and my friend
in Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
I've been there.
The Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Yes.
That is what it is, right? It's man-made. It's probably not where it was. It's probably ahistorical, but whatever. But then we went up to the Sea of Galilee. And we stayed on a kibbutz that was it's called Lake Kinneret now, but it's the Sea of Galilee, which, by the way, if anybody has the opportunity to ever go there, forget the religious part of it. It's just beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It looks like Northern California.
Yes.
It is palm trees and stuff, right? Or no,
it's just beautiful.
Palm trees and the Golan Heights, which obviously is not particularly safe, or was when the Syrians were around.
Great wine, by the way. We stayed at a kibbutz.
Yeah, great wine.
Amazing good wine I've ever had.
It really does look like Northern California, but in some ways even more beautiful because of the Sea of Galilee.
Yes,
and which is this beautiful. I can't even describe it. You have to kind of see it, but. Because my husband is very Catholic and because he'd never been there before, I said, okay, let's spring for a guide that'll take us to all the Christian sites.
Did you go to the Church of the Beatitudes or
all
whatever?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. It was a very long day, including to Nazareth, where they have the Church of the Nativity, which is not that. Again, we don't like man-made in the sense, but the Sea of Galilee and all the places that are on the Sea of Galilee, that's not man-made because that's obviously historical. And we had this incredible guide from this kibbutz he is obviously Israeli. Well, he's actually American, but had moved to Israel, I think, in the 70s and is Jewish, but he is an expert in Christian history and Christianity. And he took us around. And everywhere we went, whether to the Church of the Beatitudes, which is where the Sermon on the Mount supposedly was, although it wasn't there. There's a different place where it actually took place, including to Capernaum, where Paul, all of these places. Yes. And everywhere we go, he'd read from the New Testament. And, if you hear if you hear this in a church sitting in New York City, it's like, okay, whatever. But if you're actually reading it in the place where it was preached, very different, and you kind of have a very different understanding of what was being said and the setting in which it was said, and the historical environment that created the setting for this to be said, right? These guys were all poor fishermen or itinerant preachers, and we're not talking about Cardinal Dolan sitting in St. Patrick's, feasting off his $1 billion gold-plated.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about poor fishermen and others who were like the dregs of society, because there was a Jewish hierarchy at the time, and Jesus and his followers were at the very bottom of it. I mean, he was a carpenter. Paul was a fisherman. These people, they had a good catch that day, they'd eat. If they didn't have a good catch that day, they starved. All of that. And you're listening to it, and you understand that everything that the Charlie Kirks and all of these other pretend Christians are preaching, I don't care if they're Catholic or Baptist or Anabaptist or whatever the hell they are, right? If they're followers of Jesus, everything they are preaching is so contrary to what was said.
Correct.
That Sermon on the Mount.
Yep.
Which is all about helping out the lesser among us, the poor among us, welcoming the stranger. My God, the whole thing is about Jesus. His flight into Egypt, when he, flight from tyranny.
He was a refugee.
He was a refugee, and how welcoming the stranger was such a big deal. All of it.
And he wasn't blonde hair and blue-eyed, people.
No,
okay?
No. Oh, God,
he had nappy hair, and he was olive-skinned.
Look at every
picture. That was a Michelangelo shit, or whoever it was, painting the pictures of Jesus in the eyes of whatever he was into.
Right.
And the thing is, I just want to read this about Cardinal Timothy Dolan just really quick, because I was interested to know if he had any ties to Opus Dei.
Oh.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan, this is what Google has told me, has publicly praised Opus Dei and its founder, Saint Jose Maria Escrivá, describing the organization as a partner in serving the people of God. He highlights Opus Dei's emphasis on the universal call to holiness, encouraging members to find sanctity in their ordinary work and daily lives. He's also welcomed their work within the Archdiocese of New York, Opus Dei.
There it is.
As their management of St. Agnes Parish, and appreciates their silent, humble approach to evangelization. Now, if you're just joining us for the first time and you don't know about Opus Dei is the far-right, extremist Catholic cult within the Catholic Church that is being charged with human trafficking and rape in other countries in the world. It is a global... self-flagellation. If you've seen the film Da Vinci Code, now mind you, this is a very dramatized version of Opus Dei, but the premise and the cult that is behind the storyline of Dan Brown's book is Opus Dei. It is, and the human trafficking, child predatory behavior, and it is worldwide. And this is where Opus Dei has infiltrated the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society. Leonard Leo, who has funneled billions of dollars into their operation to pack for decades, the Supreme Court. J.D. Vance converted to Catholicism in 2019.
Very conveniently,
and has ties to Opus Dei. Peter Thiel, ties to Opus Dei. There is a reason why the Catholic Church in their the vote thing, what's that called? I forget. Conclave. When they were choosing the new pope. Opus Dei didn't get a vote this time, but there was a huge push with money and power inside to try to get their person in there. And then, of course, an American from Chicago who doesn't like Trump very much and certainly doesn't like JD Vance, was
great.
chosen, which really was to the benefit of the entire world. Because can you imagine if the United States like had an Opus Dei priest in there and had the power of the Catholic Church
Oh my
within
God.
the rest of the world?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So the fact that this Cardinal Dolan from New York has ties to Opus Dei should tell us a lot, not just about his worldview, but his appearance on Fox News and his alignment with the MAGA movement.
Tells us everything.
Exactly.
And I would say that I saw somebody in the comments say that they were going to get John Fugelsang's new book.
Yeah.
He sent me a copy. I know John. We should get him on.
He has
a new book. It came out actually on my birthday on September 9th. It's called Separation of Church and Hate, A Sane Person's Guide to Taking Back the Bible from Fundamentalists, Fascists, and Flock Fleecing Frauds. I'm going to go pick it up. It's actually sitting at my P.O. box. I need to go get it and take a look at it, and we should have John on to talk about it.
I just want to say one thing, because somebody in the chat said that Jesus was Palestinian. I just want to make a correction here. This has nothing to do with the whole Palestinian-Israeli conflict now, but I just want to say something. The term Palestinian did not arise in the Roman Empire until well after Jesus' death. Jesus was a Nazarene Jew, right? There were Judean Jews from the Judean hills closer to Jerusalem. He was from Nazareth. He was a Galilean Nazarene Jew. The word Palestinian is a Latin term that arose much later. Jesus, there's my dog. Hagrid. Jesus, there's Hagrid. Hagrid just saw a deer. He's going to look at it and then run away in fear.
Wait, speaking of wildlife, when I came out to my deck this morning to do the show, guess what it smelled like, Julie?
Our favorite smell. Do people here know that Tara and I love Hagrid? I don't know if people know this. Tara and I love the way skunks smell.
That's so weird to me. It's so weird to me.
Soulmates. Like, I met the one other person who loves the way skunks smell in the world.
We have a little skunky skunk that hangs around our yard that we see on our Ring camera that's hanging around new. And so I don't know what happened or why he sprayed, but when I came out this morning, I was like, oh, we have a little wafting of skunk odor in the air. It wasn't too pungent. It was just enough.
No, not weed. Wait, somebody here says
no, not that kind of skunk. Like a real skunk.
Legit skunk. By the way, I know people think weed smells like skunks. It does not.
No, weed kind of smells like I don't know.
Weed smells like weed, and skunks smell like skunk.
I don't know. Right? I don't know. I don't smoke weed, but there's like different types, I guess. And I don't know.
It all kind of smells the same.
I'm not a weed girl.
No, me either.
All I can tell you is New York City.
Oh my God! Every corner smells like weed in New York now.
I'm like getting a contact high just walking to like get a cup of coffee.
It's terrible.
And I'm not a prude about it, but it's just like I'm starting to feel about the weed smoke like how I feel about cigarettes. I'm like, get away from me.
Yes.
But I want to point out this message from BJG in the chat. It says, yes, Michelle, there are lots of priests and bishops working to protect undocumented migrants from ICE, and Dolan is not one of them. And for that, I want to play this clip from Congresswoman Ballant, who we have had on this show.
This is so good. Michelle sent this to me, and I was like in tears.
She's fantastic. I haven't seen
her back on. She's so good.
She's talking about how ICE and the federal government is taking advantage of the innocence of children who have undocumented immigrants as parents or other generational members of the family living in their home. And she talks from the heart from her own family's experience. I just want to play this.
So look, I had remarks prepared, but I have to go back to something that you said, Ms. Letnich. You talked about the kids who are now feeling responsible because they said that they had an immigrant or an undocumented parent at home. And I just need to speak absolutely and completely from the heart here. My grandfather was killed in the Holocaust. His children were asked in school, do you have Jewish parents at home? My aunt lived with that guilt for her entire life. She died this past year. It haunted her till her dying day. And they took advantage of her and her innocence as a child, believing that the adults around her were trustworthy. This is what we are doing to our children. This is what is happening in our name. And we never thought that it could happen here, and it's happening here. And so I just want to go to the heart of it. Please, can you tell us more? This is trauma that is being perpetrated by our government. It is craven cruelty in our name. And I want to give those children voices today. And I want to have us hear that in its raw form so that we can make the case to the American people that this is what is happening in our name.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
She's so good. She did vote for the Charlie Kirk resolution, though. But she said she wanted to condemn political violence. Sorry, no.
That's, you know what? That's also bad staffing. I'm sorry. Your staff should explain, like, you know, I as a former staffer, when you have a million things going on and this resolution, that resolution, a lot of times the members rely on their staff to brief them. And someone, her LD, someone, her chief of staff, someone should have said, Congresswoman, this is what this means. This is what it is. You should vote no.
Yeah, but never mind that part of it. Although, of course, we just went off on it for a long time. What she said is so incredibly powerful because I will tell you the guilt that children feel is tremendous. Tremendous. I was always told by my parents that they came to this country for me. And while I'm sure that's true, I have lived with that guilt forever because they did leave behind a lot of their entire life to do that. And I think that's something that we don't spend enough time considering and thinking about, the effect that kind of trauma and guilt has on kids as they grow up into adults. And again, I don't dwell on it too much with me because I have a wonderful relationship with my parents. And but I will say that what we're doing to a generation of American-born children by asking them to raise their hand and ask them where their parents are from. Like if I were a teacher in school right now, you know, those projects you always do, like family trees, like where did your mom come from? Where did your dad come from? Where did your grandparents come from? I wouldn't do those right now.
No. Oh God, no.
I wouldn't do that right now. Because
I'm sure there are some teachers who are doing them for a specific reason, because some people are awful. And there are people who don't have the best interest of the children and their families at heart, because there are unfortunately a lot of people who think that they're doing the right thing. I mean, I'm thinking about that like white Karen woman who called, ICE for the Hyundai plant with the Koreans in Georgia and had all these people rounded up and chained to trucks and vans being hauled away. And then like these people, like, I know it's different, and I know that the hatred and the final solutioning of Jews in Germany and Europe completely different. But the way that these people in this country are ratting out an entire group of people, undocumented immigrants, in a very, very similar way, that are being carted off and thrown into foreign camps, which they may never be seen again because they're being thrown into camps in countries that they aren't even from.
Not
fully aware.
Not different, Michelle, because as I keep saying, we're living in Berlin 1933.
I know.
Not Berlin 1944. Right. And that's the difference, right? It began like this.
Yeah.
It began like this. And the denunciations, and my mother can tell you, and she wouldn't come on the show, obviously, but if she ever did, this is what my mother would tell you, and I think I could speak for her. There was a story, and I want people to listen to me on this because you will shudder at the story, and then you will see the parallels happening now. When she was growing up, by the time that I was growing up, the story kind of went out of vogue. But when she was growing up at the height of Stalin in the 1950s, well, he died in the early 50s, but still, this was a big deal when they were growing up. There was a story of a little boy, which is maybe apocryphal, maybe not. The boy existed, but the story is apocryphal, named Pavlik Morozov. Pavlik Morozov was a little boy who grew up in an agricultural farm, on a collectivist farm. And he found out that his father and grandfather were selling, I think his mother was dead, were selling their produce to people and not giving it to the state. He ratted out his father and grandfather, who were shot, summarily shot. And this little boy became a hero to be taught to all little children in Russia about how the state is more important than your parents.
Oh my.
There are statues all over Russia. I don't know if they still are there now, but there certainly were all over the Soviet Union back in the day, of little Pavlik Morozov as a hero. Now, the way the story ends is he was lynched by fellow farmers and murdered by fellow farmers because they could not believe what he had done, which made him an even bigger hero. And I think got all of the farmers who killed him murdered also. But this is what was taught. Now, little Julie, and this is true because I remember this conversation very well, at the age of 4 or 5, came home from kindergarten or nursery school and went to my grandmother with whom I lived. And I said, Grandma, what is more important, bread or Lenin? And this is at a time of not famine, but there was not much food available for us. And my grandmother, who had grown up very much under Stalin, her father had been shot on Stalin's orders, half her family was exterminated. So she really grew up in this, and as an adult lived in this fearful time, had the courage to say to me, well, don't go around saying this to anybody, but bread's a little bit more important than Lenin because we need bread to survive. And I said, and I remember this like it was yesterday, oh no, Grandma, no, Lenin is more important than bread.
Oh, Julie.
So I'm telling you this to tell you that this kind of indoctrination happens, and it happens not in a far off land. It happens to people like me. And this is how you're raised. And then you have to eventually have your parents proactively get you the fuck out of that country to break that indoctrination. And we are raising a generation of children with how we started the show. And we have to go. We are starting a generation of children that the DOE and Prager University, Pinpoint USA, and Ben Shapiro and all of these other people are indoctrinating to rat out their parents, to rat out the rest of us who don't do what they consider to be the right thing, who don't put MAGA first. It is happening. And I want people to understand that on this very beautiful, on the East Coast Saturday, where we should go out and enjoy our life and enjoy our family. And I don't want to ruin anybody's weekend or leave the show on such a sad note. But I'm telling you, I'm here from the past to tell you about the future. That's what's in store for us if we don't stop it now. It is 11:59. Midnight is about to strike.
Yep.
1 minute away.
And this is where the people with the money and the people with the influence that have been lucky enough to have made their money in this country and in this democracy, thanks to the middle class and the last 80 years of diplomacy, they owe something to the country that helped them be who they are. And this is not the time to be silent. This is not the time to be stingy. This is not the time for any of that. And quite frankly, if these people can have spent the last several decades indoctrinating people one way, if you invest, you can fight against it in the same way. But you have to be dedicated and you have to invest, and we all have to be in it together, because otherwise, to Julie's point, like, what are we even doing here? What are we even doing?
That's great. And I think that's the exact message. And it's a good segue. I'll end the show on a somewhat of an announcement. My TEDx talk that I gave back in June will be published this coming week. It has to go through like an approval process and all of this before we could post it. So I know I had mentioned that I did it, but it's taken a couple months for it to go through the whole TED process, and it will be uploaded this week. And my TED talk is about what will you do at a time when you're called upon to make a tough choice? And it's called Stand Up or Stand By, a call for moral and civic courage. And I'm hoping that the response is great and that lots of people see it, because I think the timing actually of my TED Talk coming out this week, it's kind of not a coincidence, I guess, that
fortunately, but unfortunately,
right, that this moment is when my TED Talk will get released. But like, it's basically, asking the question, is truth telling the radical act of protest that society needs right now? And I would say yes. Right? Telling the truth in a time of universal deceit is a revolutionary act.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing. And we need more people to join the revolution, because it ain't going to be televised, folks.
No. And our friend Anna, who works with us at Seneca Project, she's an old dear friend of mine. She is the third generation survivor of Holocaust, of Holocaust survivors, her grandparents and her great grandmother. And she often says to me, in a world of bystanders, be an upstander. Upstanders are the ones who don't stand by and let things happen. Be an upstander.
The bulk of my TED Talk talks about the bystander effect and and the danger of it, and kind of where that originated from, and the story I tell about where that psychology originated from, and how dangerous it can be if it happens at a national level. And what are you going to do when you're called upon to make the decision? Will you get involved or not?
Right.
So,
and somebody here said in the chat, I'm trying to see who said it, but Casual Observer, he said, especially you white people. Yeah, you're right.
Especially
those of us who are white. I mean, really, especially
if you're white and you were born here and you got a roof over your head, you better be out in them streets. Let me just tell you.
Nobody's pulling you over to check your ID. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
For women, they might pull us over to check like our fertility schedules and decide whether we're.
Can I look up there and see what's going on?
But I will tell you something else, and then we really do have to go.
Yeah.
I don't know that people saw this. Maybe you sent this to me, Michelle or Tara. I can't remember where I saw it, but they have disappeared 3/4 of the men in Alligator Alcatraz. Nobody knows where they are.
Oh my God.
There's no record of them.
Oh my God.
They don't know if they've been deported, although they don't have their final deportation orders from the courts. They don't know if they're alive. They don't know they're not in Alligator Alcatraz. Their lawyers can't get in touch with them. Their parents, their family, their kids, nobody can get in touch with them.
I did not know that. And to that point, and I'm sorry that I know that we have to go, but it's like somebody said in the chat that, and I didn't know that this happened. Bill Maher had Tom Homan on his show last night. I used to watch Bill Maher. I think a lot of us, Tara, I know you were on his show, whatever.
Many times.
As much, even if he was kind of a douche sometimes, I'd be like, you know what? But like, he makes good points. He has lost the plot. That man has lost the plot. He is one of the comedians, by the way, when all this has been happening to Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, everybody else, not a word out of his mouth.
You know why? You know why? Because his ass is on HBO, which is about to get absorbed under the Ellison deal that they're coming in for Warner Discovery, and he's trying to save his own fucking ass.
That's why. He is a single guy who's obsessed with the Me Too movement because he knows that I'm sure that he has problems in that area. If people were brave enough probably to say something, he'd be on that list.
I haven't been on a show in a long time, since 2016, actually. And the last time they invited me on, they canceled me. It was last October.
I remember that,
It was a couple weeks before the election. And they wanted me to take a position that I was not going to take. And I said, no, I'm sorry. That's not the position I'm coming from on that. And then they decided not to.
That's funny, Tara. They pre-interviewed me for something similar. And I said no. And that was the last I heard of it. That was in January.
Yep.
Let me just go ahead. Sorry, Michelle.
No, it's because in addition to the Me Too stuff, he's also very obsessed with reverse racism. And that's why he has guests on, including Megyn Kelly, talking about how racism isn't this, and stop telling white people that they're the problem. White people are the problem. It doesn't mean that it's your fault. It doesn't mean that you were the one having slaves 100 years ago. That's not what it means. It means that white people have been the problem. And if you are a white person, it is up to you to not be the problem. and to be aware of it, and to just walk through your life knowing that the color of your skin gets you pretty far in this country.
That's why they're trying to remake history with the Smithsonian, removing references to racism and slavery and all of that. That's why, again, back to what we started off with this 250 coalition, to try to re-indoctrinate and whitewash history and do this revisionist history about how wonderful the country is. Yes, we have a great country. We also have an original sin that you can't deny, but they want to deny it because they're okay with it.
But the reason I bring up Alligator Alcatraz is if they can disappear those people, it's not going to stop with them. So my fellow whites here, fellow white people, understand right now it's the Latino who you don't give a shit about because he's undocumented and you maybe see him in the back of the kitchen washing dishes at the diner that you go to and you don't think much of him. But I'm telling you right now, he is a human being. He does have a family. He does have a life. He has been here for a long time and he has been disappeared. And not him, but 3/4 of the people like him in the shitty, shanty, stand up in 1 week facility that has not passed any standards for any kind of residence where human beings can live. And these people are not criminals. It is not a felony to come here illegally. I want to say that again. If you rape somebody, you have better rights than these people do. That's what I understand. If you murder somebody, you go to a prison in, I don't know, whatever maximum security prison you have here in Pennsylvania where I am, or New York and California. That is a better facility where these people are going right now, except they're not there anymore. The men are gone.
That's crazy.
Are gone. And if they can disappear them, my friends, what was that line about the Holocaust? First they came for this, and then they came for that, and then they came for this, and then by the time they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up for me. That's happening now.
And speaking of that, like the fact that the Germans were able to exterminate 10 million people, 6 million of which were Jews, as part of the final solution. They were able to do this in an industrialized way, without the internet, without the technology, without the surveillance state that we have now 80 plus years later. So if you think for 1 second, anybody, that the United States government and the monsters who are now in charge and operating and running and the Stephen Millers, which, by the way, please go find. There is an article in Rolling Stone about Stephen Miller and how he is the de facto president of the United States right now, and that everybody who works with him hates him and is afraid of him and talks shit about him behind his back. If you think for 1 second that this young man, who is the descendant of Jewish refugees, is not going to weaponize his position in this world to take out millions of people in this country. He gets hard on this idea. Let me just tell you.
He said it. Donald Trump said if it was up to Stephen Miller, there'd only be 100 million people in the United States and they'd all be white.
Exactly.
So, I mean, he doesn't get any more morose than that.
It is possible here. It is possible. And this is why the Holocaust should always be taught through a lens of complicity by the German people.
Yes.
That is a part of this that is always left out.
Except they're not teaching it. A lot of these schools have gotten rid of something like the Diary of Anne Frank. You know why? Because apparently it's offensive. To whom? Nazis?
Oh my God. Well,
yeah,
you know
stop
what?
calling us Nazis and fascists. We'll stop
what?
Nazis.
This is
like them.
We're legit going to end the show on this quote right here. John Pavlovitz, who I absolutely adore.
Good guy. Good guy.
John, if you're watching, we'd love to have you on. I'd love to interview you. He retweeted our Charlie Kirk video, by the way. If you want to talk about someone who has indicted the evangelical movement, someone who used to be in it, that's him. He's amazing. He said, quote, "In the name of human beings whose lives are hanging in the balance, right now, it's time to banish the veneers of quiet niceness in favor of outside voices and F-bombs." Fuck yeah, John Pavlovitz. That's us. Thank you, Laura, for posting that in the chat. That's us.
Yep.
That's all of you. Thank you guys.
I want to make people laugh before we go. Something just popped up on my phone that I wanted to just share with everybody. This is from almost 20 years ago. Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Do you want me to put this up?
Yes. Well, before you do, let me set it up. Kimberly Guilfoyle got confirmed as the ambassador to Greece today or this week, as part of the nuclear option that the Republicans have used. And I want to just post this picture for no reason other than I want to show you what Kimberly Guilfoyle looked like at a party where she and I, a Fox party where she and I were 16 years ago. Now you tell me whether this is the same woman. See if you could pick her out of this crew.
Hold on.
This is me being very catty.
Oh, I see her.
Okay, I see her.
Does that look anything like the Kimberly Guilfoyle today?
Nope.
Nope. I just wanted to post that because it just popped up and I'm cracking up because that is
her in that early 2000s like dress too that she's wearing, the shirt.
But it's even more hilarious because
she has no face work done there.
Well, she does, but not. She's had
not anything close to what it is now.
A lot less plastic there. All right.
Wow. All right, guys.
So sorry, just I want to end on one last thing. I want to thank the women at the I've Had It podcast.
Yes.
Just really quick here.
I have moral clarity on the issue. Affiliates are going to play a commemoration to Charlie Kirk during Jimmy Kimmel's Hour. I want to play a video that has been put together by the Seneca Project. And I want you to stay locked and loaded with us and watch every bit of this because this is Charlie Kirk in his own words. And I want everybody to realize, don't click out of this. It's important to know what he said and how many people are honoring his words. Play the clip.
And when I tell you, they played every second of it and then gave us a shout out and said 10 out of 10 now, no notes. So as someone who has been watching their and listening to their podcast for a very, very long time, I am such fans and admirers of theirs. And I just want to thank them, not only for giving us a shout out, because obviously that is very helpful to us, but also for shining light on this because it is so important, especially because tomorrow is going to be Day of Propaganda in the United States. So with that said, I have drank so many drinks. I need to run.
We should have gone like 45 minutes ago. But hey, listen, it was a great show. Happy Saturday. I'm going to go back out and find another estate sale. I'm going to go have drinking. Hummingbirds.
I'm not going to be here next Wednesday because, like the idiot that I am, I think I told you this. I wasn't here last Wednesday either. I thought I had a meeting. I went all the way very far for this meeting, and when I show up there
in the rain,
they said your meeting is actually next Wednesday.
Oh, that's funny.
Fucking idiot, and that's what I am. So I will not be here again next Wednesday because I have to go to the meeting that I thought was last Wednesday.
Oh, that's all right. It's happened to the best of us. We'll hold it down for you, Jules. We got you.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Everybody, be safe. Enjoy yourselves, everyone. Bye.